Hey guys, my name is Serena. Welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I want to talk about something that has been talked about a lot on Twitter, I think a couple of weeks ago. And I've watched a couple of videos on YouTube about it. And it's basically this article from The Guardian where a mother asks for recommendations for her 16-year-old daughter that doesn't read, and she basically wants her daughter to get off social media and start reading. So this woman answers and recommends a lot of classics and heavy books that, especially for a teenager that doesn't already read, are not fit, you know? A teenager who doesn't read books will never pick up a classic for her first read, you know? So I feel like a lot of you guys that these recommendations are not fit for a teenager just starting reading, you know? Let me just read a couple of titles she recommended. I see Carrie by Stephen King. I've read that, but I wouldn't recommend it to a new reader or a non-reader. Then there are a lot of titles that I honestly never heard of. There's I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, which I want to read soon, but I know that it's like a non-fiction, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend a non-fiction to a non-reader because I feel like it wouldn't capture the attention. You know, I never read non-fiction and I'm a reader. There is Becoming by Michelle Obama, which I want to read. Again, a lot of titles that I do not know about. Flowers in the Attic, Is Everyone Hanging Out With Me, Character Breakdown. Anyway, in today's video, I'm going to talk about a few books that I would personally recommend to a 16-year-old girl who does not read, who loves Love Island, I think, and never gets off social media. So, first of all, I would recommend young adult, obviously. And I know that young adult is looked down upon, you know. Everyone thinks that it's not a genre, it's not important, but I disagree, obviously, because I feel like reading is for pleasure. And yes, there are more serious books and more important books, whatever you want to call them, but if you're reading for pleasure, it doesn't necessarily have to be a classic or a nonfiction. I love young adult. I know that a lot of you guys love young adult. I don't get why it's so hated upon. Like, everybody can read what the hell they want, you know? So I would definitely recommend young adult to a new reader, especially if she or he or they are young. I would also recommend something fiction, something action-packed, and that keeps their attention. I am on Goodreads. I am going to go through all the books that I've read in my life, and I'm going to casually recommend some books that I personally think are fit for a 16-year-old. First of all, I see Catching Fire and The Hunger Games. I would recommend that because it was one of the first trilogies that I personally read as a teenager, and I loved them. They were very action-packed. It kept me reading on. I never got bored reading these books, you know, and obviously everybody knows what The Hunger Games is about, but watching the movie and reading the books are two different experiences, and I would definitely recommend The Hunger Games. My favorite book personally in the trilogy is Catching Fire. Of course, Harry Potter. I know that Harry Potter is mostly a children's book, especially the first 3 books, but I personally read it as a teenager. I would recommend Harry Potter to every age, you know. I absolutely love it. I know some people do not like it, but it's a perfect book to dip your feet into fantasy and obviously see if it's the genre for you. I definitely read a lot of sad books. The Fault in Our Stars, Me Before You, If I Stay are sad books if you think about it, but if you're interested in those themes, I would recommend these books. The Fault in Our Stars obviously is, if you have watched the movie, it's about this girl who has cancer, and Me Before You is about this man who is in a wheelchair, and If I Stay is about a girl who got in a car crash. So if you're interested in those themes, I would recommend them. I also read Dash and Lily's Book of Dares, which is a short holiday book. It's obviously about these two people, Dash and Lily. Lily left a red notebook full of challenges in a library, and Dash finds it, and they trade dreams and dares and desires, and it's just a cute book. I remember it being a very cute book. Of course, I would recommend To All the Boys I Loved Before, the entire trilogy. If you are a teenager, a non-reader, I would definitely recommend this book because it's just so cute. It's about this girl who writes a letter to every boy she ever loved, and she puts them in a box, and one day these letters get out and things happen. There's the Netflix movie. It's so cute as well. I definitely recommend this one. How can I not recommend Sarah J Maas? I've only read the first two books in A Throne of Glass. I would recommend, as well as of course A Thorns and Roses. I think that a non-reader would like them. Some of the more recent books that I've read, I would recommend The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. It does have more, deep themes, but it's also very easy to read and enjoyable. I really liked it. I honestly heard only very few bad things about it, so I would definitely recommend this book. Of course, Fangirl. It's about this girl who is shy, very introverted, who writes fan fiction and just began college. I read this book when I first started university and I liked it. I would definitely recommend. Another book that I would recommend is Sparrow by Sarah Moon. This book is it reads very young. I read it this year. I felt that I would have loved this book if I read it back in the beginning of high school. It's about this girl who deals with depression, and it's just her getting out of her comfort zone. She recently lost her favorite teacher, and it's about her struggle, and there's a lot of musical aspects in this book. I think that a teenager would definitely like this book. Lastly, I want to talk briefly about two series which I personally have not finished, but I feel like by the first couple of books I feel like a teenager would love them. The Lunar Chronicles. I've only read Cinder and Scarlet. I love them, honestly. I am not a teenager and I love them. I think that a teenager would definitely love them. I still have to finish it, but still recommend. Same goes with Shadow of the Fox. I know that there's a second book, still have to read it, but I find it very fun, and there's a lot of Japanese culture, and this book is in two perspectives. There is a girl who needs to bring a scroll to a temple, and the samurai who wants this scroll but doesn't know that she has it, and it's about this journey that they do together, and can't wait to continue on with this series. Still would recommend the first book. I forgot to mention that the Lunar Chronicles are retelling. Cinder is Cinderella as a cyborg, and Scarlet is the Little Red Riding Hood retelling. So yeah, I feel like this was just a casual video, me going through my Goodreads shelf and casually recommending some books to teenagers. I hope you enjoy this video, and I'll talk to you guys in my next one. Bye!
Before you came round, I was heading for a small disaster.